Like, you talk about a butterfly effect. That was like a pterodactyl.
You never really grieve properly, and I didn't realize that either until I'd left.
Go out in service, right? The same recipe. It's supposed to help you, build your faith, do this, that, and it's like...
So when you're on that hamster wheel and you're just ground into the dirt, that's when you feel super down, and it's... All right, welcome to EXJW-Live again. So this time we've got an interesting episode. We just had the one on women in the Watchtower. So we're fortunate enough to have another woman who is from the Watchtower and had to deal with them. This one's family this time. And so I guess right off the hop, we just want to say, if you're watching this video, that we're going to cover a lot of topics that might be triggering for some people, but their intent is to help. So we may talk about suicide. We may talk about depression, substance use, a lot of different things that affected us in different ways. And we may not even talk about them. So I might just be saying this for no reason, but, and there may be some language for those that have issues with that. So just a heads up for that one.
No language.
I might.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll probably say something inappropriate for sure.
Yeah. Well, I hope so, because then it takes the heat off me.
Yeah.
So with all that said and done, we have Dionna Osborne on. She was married to my brother, and now she wanted to come on, and we wanted to give her a chance to kind of tell her story a little bit. And specifically, I think we wanted to talk about a few things. But first off, why don't you give us a little introduction? You don't have to get crazy in depth, but maybe about how long you've born and raised, that sort of thing, just the basic stuff.
Yeah, so I'm I guess third generation. I was born into a family witnesses. My father and mother both, I don't really know. It was a really tumultuous childhood. So to think that we were witnesses in what went on in the home as a child, it became normal, like dad abusive to mom, and the beating and the drinking. And that was kind of like a little snippet of my childhood. And then it was like constant chaos in my home growing up. My grandma and grandpa on both sides witnesses. My grandparents got, it's funny, on one of your episodes, Nishon, you talked about how you call it the truth. And so it's like so ingrained into you as a child, you say truth, truth, truth. Well, you tell a child that black is white and white is black, and you say, no, mom said that, that's the truth. You're going to, grow up believing, well, this is the truth. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we still use those words.
It's been 10 years from me, and I still do it every once in a while. I don't know why I can't get that out of my head.
Mm-hmm. Because it's just like this slang you use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the truth. Well, so you never questioned it, right? Because, well, grandma and grandpa and your mom and dad, and it's like, the consequences if you do question it. So, and to be on something like, to say, oh, XJW, like I was in, like when people say like I was, in, like good girl, like my whole life, I, did all the things that you're supposed to do as a witness, but never felt like you measure up, and then of course I married Jared when I was 21, and we started a family together. And I would like to say that we had a really happy marriage. I mean, Nash, sorry.
You can call me Nashon. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
We do this every time.
I still think of you as like little 15-year-old Nashon running around trying to get his license, but
Yeah.
Look at you now. Hey,
it's ridiculous hair.
Yeah. Like we were all just in, hey, Nash, like we were just kind of like the golden family, I would like to say. you know, I don't know. And then Camelot fell, and when Jared killed himself, and I guess this is where we all come in, talking about, and this is why I wanted to come on, because I think so much about so many different things leading up to Jared's choice. And it was just so shocking. Like, you know, he was like everybody's rock, funny man.
Good buddy.
I don't know. Nashon worked with him practically every day.
I'm going to just add something here for everybody watching. Jared is Nash's brother. So, you know, just a lot of people know Nash from the interviews he's been in. But if anybody hasn't seen this, Dionna's husband that she married, Jared, is actually, or was, Nash's brother. Is.
Yeah.
Language. Yeah. I think it's interesting what you say there, because I mean, for me now, looking back, and it hasn't been that long. I mean, it's been 11 years this week since Jared, but I mean, it hasn't been that long really since I've been woken up from the truth. And it's funny that when you look back and you talk about how we were like this golden family or whatever, and I mean, maybe we weren't golden, but as far as Jehovah's Witnesses go, you know, like it was pretty good. Everything looked good on paper. You know, we all really were in, like, none of us were living double lives or you know, hiding things or didn't, you know, we all really did believe it when push come to shove. That was something that we all had in common, I think. And now when I think of myself as that person, I don't really, you know, I recognize myself, but it's weird. It's weird looking back to see how different life was, because everything in your life when you're a Jehovah's Witness is manipulated in some way by the fact that you are a Jehovah's Witness, and it goes to everything, every choice you make, every like I've said, financial decision, every vacation you took, every everything you did, and so now to have that gone, and then everything that went with it, your family, your friends, your social network that you built from the time you were a kid, like to have that taken from you. You know, most people, when you tell them you were a Jehovah's Witness or you're shunned, you know, they think of you as like, oh, you just don't go to church anymore on Sunday. No big deal. But we all know, and as we've talked about before, it's quite a bit more severe than that. So I guess as far as that went with Jared, you know, I want to say, you know, I want to say that I'm grateful after all the garbage that went on and terrible things and that came of it. In the end, you know, I'm thankful that I woke up and he helped me wake up in the end. Whether, you know, he didn't know that, and nobody could have known that. And it's cost us a lot, right? It's cost us maybe a relationship with our kids at some point, our families. You know, it didn't come without a cost. It come with other costs for myself too. Some issues with alcohol abuse, and so, you know, all that stuff happened. But in the end, I don't want to come across as if I'm crying like I've got it so bad or everything's so terrible, because I am grateful in the end for the person I am now, and the life I have now. And I know that you've had your struggles too. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how, you know, you don't have to get into any details about things, but like maybe how you've kind of dealt with some of it and overcome some, and still, you know, we still struggle with things. I mean, I don't have it all figured out. I don't think anybody really does.
Yeah. I think, like I said, it was like Jared was everybody's rock solid. Like, he was the one thing I knew in my life that was, you know, like, you're steady. I never questioned his, how much he loved me. I never questioned, you know, our life together. And so when this happened, it was like a normal day, you know, and it just shook not only my self-worth, but it also shook like the very foundation of my being, because everything about me was attacked, like, well, why would he do that? Well, it must have been this, so it must have been her. So like every aspect of my life was out in the open, dissected. Like I couldn't turn around without the criticism from you name it, like it was just like something no human should have ever had to experience after the death of their husband in such a tragic way, and so I didn't really have this normal grieving process because the way it happened. And so then I had to find this inner strength about me inside. And so then that's where, people would say to me, well, you're going to see him right pretty soon. And it's right around the corner. Like Armageddon's right around the corner. The new system's right around the corner. And so, in my head, I'm thinking, well, I'll just be a better person. I'll be a good person, But then, of course, all the things that come across as a person and as a human, like I loved being married. I loved having a family. That was the one thing I actually took pride in, was knowing that I was a good wife, in Jehovah's Witness world, like house clean, suppers, supportive, all the things that you're supposed to do to make yourself, be a good wife, be submissive, all these things. And so then I don't even know where to go with it. Like trying to keep, and we had 2 kids when Jared passed away. And so then, you're told get out in service. Well, just get out in service. Well, if you need more faith, you have to have more faith. And so it's like, well, you're just thinking, are you fucking kidding me? Like you want me to have more faith? Like I'm doing my best here. And I'm, I feel
that's their
like
solution to everything.
Yeah. Pray more. We'll get out in service.
Go to the meetings.
Go in service and get out.
And everything will be good.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
So I'm like trying my best to do all the things, do all the boxes, get my kids to the meetings, do all the things, and just do more. We'll do more, and it's like, well, I can hardly even like wash my hair, but I don't want to be that person, so then you're told multiple times, you need to read the Bible. Okay, so then I would just sit there and I'd read the Bible and I'd be like, well, I still miss him.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to get him back, and so but then it's like, but you're going to see him again. So then you're stuck in this loop of the resurrection's coming in the new system, but I'm not going to get him back. But everybody else gets a brother back and they get a dad back, but I don't get a husband back.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Okay, well then, I'm just gonna remarry. I can't do this, So then I did. I remarried way too fast. I just wanted to numb. I just wanted to I wanted my heart filled again. So married a man that was not very kind to me, and I had only known kindness and love, and so I didn't know that relationships were so much work, so then I'm, of course, hauled into the meetings, the elders meetings, like you name it, for talking wrong, for you name it, like everything. And so everything, I'd show up with black eyes and they'd be like, well, Dionna, if you would just be like this or that or this. And so it was like this constant, like, be submissive, be this. And so then I just literally, I drank the minute I started about 2:00 in the afternoon, just because I was like, I can't handle this. Like I'm trying to do everything perfect. And I thought, well, just to be happy, to numb, I would just start about 2:00, the gin would come out because I wanted to party. I just wanted to be happy,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Am I rambling?
No, it's fine. I think
I
think that's like
powerful.
That's good, and I think we'll come back to this because I think I think you're going to really help a lot of people because it's going to resonate. with a lot of people that have been through similar experiences. We haven't all been through the same experience, but I think there's a lot of people out there that are either struggling now or have struggled in the past with similar circumstances. And so I think that's super important. I kind of wanted to go back. You talked about that endless loop of grief. And I just wanted to clarify too, something you said that maybe some people don't realize is Jehovah's Witnesses kind of have this strange teaching that's changed over time, back and forth, about men and women not being married in the new system, in the paradise, when everybody else is destroyed and they get to have pandas. So we don't really know, right? So you had some experience with different meaning well people saying things like that, right? Like, don't worry, the paradise is coming. But then did you have somebody directly mention to you, the fact that maybe you won't be married, or, and that's kind of what drove that?
Yeah. So it was one, and I'm sure like it was, meaning they meant well. Like, I don't think anybody ever means to hurt a grieving widow. But sure. Their elders would say that an elder would be like, you're not even going to get him back. Like, you're not going to have him back. And I just remember, like, that's probably like the only reason why do I want to be in that paradise then? Why? What like, yeah, okay, so everybody else, like I said, gets what they want back. But then they're like, no, but God knows like what's in your heart. So I'm like, but then I'd just be like, well, I want Jared back. Like, of course I want him back.
Yeah. I think that's a super interesting point that you made, because that is true, right? And that's something that keeps a ton of people tied to this organization, is this hope that they're going to see their dead loved ones again, right? Their sons or daughters, their parents, grandparents, whatever it might be. But like you said, there's this strange idea that, if we're married to somebody, we're likely not going to get them back. We'll get them back in a different way, right? But I mean, who wants them back in a different way? And it's those same weird questions that don't really have an answer. Kind of like, why do you want to be in paradise if all your kids aren't there? Because one of them left or two of them left. And they're just like, well, Jehovah's going to look after it, like he's going to satisfy the desire of every human being.
Yes, that's the scripture I was thinking about.
And he's going to make you forget, right? Like that's the comfort you get, that God's going to.
But it's little consolation when your husband or your son is dead, has passed away.
Yeah, because I mean, what is your paradise? What do you think of as your paradise? What is the most important things to you, right? For you, for any of us, our paradise would have all the people we love in it. It wouldn't have just the people that God thinks we should be allowed to be with, or that we should be allowed to remember. So I think it's an insane teaching on its own that I don't think anybody really gives that much thought to, or not enough thought to. And I mean, it's not to anybody's fault. That's just the way it is when you grow up in it. But I think it's another way that we talked about this before, about how Jehovah's Witnesses hijack our grief, and they do it in a lot of different ways, whether it's a husband or wife, or family, or just a friend. You never really grieve properly, and I didn't realize that either until I'd left, and until I'd seen a counselor, and got some therapy and understood what real grieving means. And it's not at all what the Jehovah's Witnesses say, right? Like you said, they want you to pray and read your Bible. And I mean, reading the Bible it's nonsense when it comes to dealing with actual grief. And so none of that is helpful on its own. Even if you find some solace in reading it, it's not helpful in the long run as far as grieving goes. So did you find yourself where you felt stuck, where you were trying to fill this hole in your heart, kind of because you knew that you just had to move on? That was your expectation, like just move on, Dionna?
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess looking back, you're only allowed to marry within the organization, of course, too, right? So your selection is
limited.
And so I think I just felt, I don't know. It's just like such a weird time in my life, because I've always been such a really quite a I mean, I'm kind of a free spirit. I think everybody knows I do have a little bit of a wild side to me. But it's like, when I say like a wild side, it's just like more like just like fun. I love having fun.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like major life decisions, I do really have a pretty good head on my shoulders, you know, like I kind of think fast forward to things. But in this case, I had, you know, done the awful thing of sleeping with this man before we got married. And so then I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be disfellowshipped, you know, so I'm scared, like right away, you're scared. And then I'm grieving. And then I'm all these things. And then I'm just like, I'm pretty much, I don't know what to do. I didn't want to say anything. I was scared. I was scared to be alone, scared. Like, just, you make, and I've said it before. It's like, when people control you in fear, they control you. Like, it's like, so everything about the organization, I was so controlled, because it's like, oh, and now I've broke my marriage. Like now I've slept with somebody, but I don't, you know, like, it made me feel like,
right.
You know, maybe I'm being too personal here. I don't know, but to me, I just feel like it's like, this is
that's
real.
how Jehovah's
like,
Witnesses view marriage, right? Like it's not broken until there's some adultery committed, right? Like that's how they view it. So that's how that would feel, right? Like now I've broken this sacred bond, and now I don't know if I'm ever gonna, you know, have a chance.
So then it's like, well, I guess I really, you know, I'm not going to have him back. Like I did that, but then I'm like, in my head, I just like so loyal, you know, to somebody that's gone. And I'm like, okay, like, it was such a mind fuck. Like, that's the only way to say it. And I probably shouldn't be swearing, because it
you can swear.
very ladylike.
We swear all the
but
time.
It's just like, you have to understand, like, I literally just couldn't think, because I was just scared, sad, lost, all the things, you know. And it was like I said, I couldn't even turn with people, like, not criticizing me. And so I just felt like kind of like a monkey in a cage, I guess. Like a circus animal.
I can understand that.
It sounds like the elders, you know, not that there's all elders are evil or anything, but it sounds like the elders weren't much help.
No, not at all. So then once I married this man, that was extremely abusive in every way, like emotionally, mentally, financially, physically. Like, it was like, I honestly think that the damage from that relationship was almost like more because of what the elders, like, they would just literally pull out all the scriptures and like put the Bible in my face, and I'd just be like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm trying my best here, but like, they just would not, you know, listen to how bad the abuse was at the home. And so ultimately, my son left home at 15 because he just couldn't take what was happening in the house. He lost a lot of respect for me too. And I had lost respect for myself as well. But like, my little Camelot was crushed, like in every way, you know. My family was literally shattered, that I had worked. And that was like the one thing I was really proud about, was the fact that my family wasn't the same for my children that I had growing up. Like, I fought really hard to not have that for them. And so it just, I felt like such a failure on every level. And so I just, honestly, I don't know. But like, then once again, go out in service, pray, the same recipe. It's supposed to help you, you know, build your faith, do this, that. And it's like, it's like, you can't physically and mentally do enough to ever heal all of those layers, you know, that were dumped on myself, and I think ultimately on all of us as a family nation, you know, like, so many layers.
Like I agree. Like, I think we all had our own, everybody had a different experience, right? Everybody everybody felt it in a different way. And it doesn't make anybody's experience worse or better than the others. But I mean, I do really feel for you, because the reality is, and you said it, that you felt judged at every turn and criticized at every turn, and I was guilty of that at the time too. And you know, we've made our amends over this stuff, but you know, the reality is, like, I know that happened. I was a party to it, and I can't imagine, because I know what it's like to be criticized too, right? Unjustly, and things made up about you. And so when it comes to somebody you love, and now you've dealt with losing them, and now you're being criticized, and maybe feeling at fault, right? Because you're made to feel to blame. And it's not like you didn't blame yourself anyway. I mean, I blame myself. I'm sure everybody did at some point. And there's always that part of grief when it's in such a in that way, right? And when it comes to suicide, there's always, everybody wants to make sense of it. And the reality is, I mean, you can't really make sense of it. You have to make the most sense of it you can, and you have to somehow accept it. And I don't think that ever gets any easier. But I, you know, for you, here you are, you've got 2 little kids still that rely on you, and you just want to give them the family that you always wanted to, that you felt like you had, because you did have it. And now it was all getting tore away, right? And and anywhere you look for support, it wasn't there. And I still find it hard to believe, and I've heard hundreds of stories similar to yours, when there's an abusive husband, and the elders will sit there and counsel the wife for not being submissive enough, or not applying, you know, counsel enough, or whatever it might be, and just basically let the guy get away with murder, you know. And that always, like, I still find that super hard to believe. And even hearing it from you, it like, how did you feel when you, like, did you feel kind of like, when you walked out of those meetings, did you feel like, man, I can't believe that just happened? Or did you just kind of dissociate from it a little bit?
I think I disassociated from it a little bit, just in the fact that, because, you know, I think because of what Jared's choice was, you know, then I start questioning, like, well, maybe, like, I really am like this, you know, all the things that, maybe I really was the reason, you know,
Right.
that
Yeah.
he killed
Yeah. That makes
himself,
sense.
you know, because I'm
Yeah.
being told I'm just this awful. And,
Yeah. That's an awful,
yeah,
an
it's,
awful way to feel, because now you're already there, you know,
mm-hmm.
and here these people are supposed to be giving you the help, and propping you up, and helping you to,
Yeah.
you know, to support your kids and your family, and to move on.
Yeah.
But that help just wasn't there, right? Like, they really
No.
just pushed it down harder.
Yeah. And it was, I'll never forget, at the final meeting, that was like, I mean, I had like such a bad attitude near the end too, because I was just like,
Well, I
I
don't blame you.
physically and mentally cannot do this. Like, I can't, like, you know, I had left him, and then, still struggled with, I guess, some, it wasn't really like, I would like to say, like, alcoholism, but it's like not even that. It was more just trying to, like, numb, and the way the events had happened. And then I'll just never forget, the elder, he looked at me and he's like, yeah, Dionna, like, nothing's going to change you, and nothing ever will. And I was just like, really? Like, you're going to say that to me right now? So that was their decision. And I just was like, I lost it on him. Like, I just said, like, that's the most unloving thing I've ever heard from anybody in my life. You
Yeah.
know, like, to
Yeah.
say, like, oh, you know, basically, you know, just to throw something in your face that you're trying to, like, work on yourself with, and then to say that to somebody, that
Yeah.
they're supposed to be there for you. And I just, I did continue going to meetings after that, because I was like, no, this is the truth. Like, okay, like,
Right.
whatever. I still kind of thought it was the truth. Like, I think it's only been in the last, well, that was 2017 that I got disfellowshipped. And then I think I went to the meetings for probably my timeline might be wrong, but it was a while yet, because you just think, well, what else is there? That's what they tell you, right? Well, what else is there? What else is there? And so then it was pretty like dark, like just to be like, like no family, trying to now grieve Jared, and then trying to get rid of the abuse cycle that's in your head, and then like, oh no, but come back to Jehovah. Well, why?
Yeah.
What's
It
there?
is, that's what's so terrible, I think, about this organization. If we just talk about that for a second, is just the fact that these men are unqualified. For starters, they should not be there. They shouldn't be dealing with these situations because they have no idea what they're doing. These guys are plumbers and roofers, and they just shouldn't be doing it. So now we've got somebody who's come through all these situations and has obviously got good reason for having a hard time, and the only thing they look at is their shepherd book under the judicial meetings and alcohol, and they don't hear what you're saying. They don't care. They want to know how much you drank, how often, and how do you feel about it now, and how do you think it made Jehovah feel? And it's like, well, I don't fucking care how Jehovah feels, because right now I'm just barely hanging on. Yeah. And I might just off myself, and I know that that's been said to elders, and they don't care. They don't. No. They will look at you and just be like, well, because I don't think they believe you. I think they just are like, you know what? My book here says if you're drinking too much and you don't care, then I need to kick you out to the cold. And the Jehovah's Witnesses have no, like, that's the difference between them and other churches. Other churches have support for people. I hate AA, but where's every AA meeting run out of? It's run out of a church for the most part. There's all kinds of support groups for people with addiction issues, or that come out of, domestic abuse situations. And churches will generally they'll set up these, these organizations or these little meetings or whatever it is, support groups, and they'll send you on your way to get help. Yeah. The last thing they'll do is kick your ass out and say, don't come back. And basically that's what they do. This is not, and like Greg said, this is not some loving arrangement where they're there to put oil on your head and, like the scriptures say, and to help you and show you that they love you and Jehovah loves you and he wants you back. It is a punishment for breaking one of their rules. They don't care why you broke it. And they want to blackmail you back in to follow the rules tighter next time.
Well, and along with that, we are being hard on elders here, and they kind of deserve it in a lot of areas. But just imagine if elders didn't have that obligation to disfellowship people, to kick people out of the organization. What if they didn't have to do that? Then I think that the elder arrangement would look a lot different. It might actually be more helpful. I mean, in a lot of situations, these individuals maybe should be talking to a professional, no question about it. But if they weren't forced to have these investigations and to keep the congregation clean and the disfellowshipping arrangement, the elders might be considerably nicer and more along the lines of, how they're referred to in the Bible as healing and pouring oil, those types of things. It might look a lot different.
Yeah. Instead, they re-victimized you, right? Like that's what the elders do in those meetings. Rather than, like Greg said, help you out, they almost re-victimize you because they want you to tell them everything and play it back and then punish you for it.
Yeah. And that's exactly, like, it was like they basically came to my house and kind of hunted me down. Yeah, they did. And I said, because I had went out with a girl that was disfellowshipped, and that's like kind of how my story unraveled. She was needing some help, and I felt really bad, and so we went out, and then it was just like literally I was hunted down because I went out with her.
They found out about it, and
yeah, it was just like this chain of events. And I was like, yeah, like she didn't have AMA. And so long story short, she needed a tire change, but
Well,
I
you're such a
had,
horrible person for helping her out, eh?
yeah. And so then it was like this long story short. And I mean, whatever, it was a chain of events, and that's what happened. But here nor there, that was how I got finally, just like, if I can't help somebody and be told on because of it, then I think it's time to go now.
Yeah.
But and then I was like, it was hard though, because I was still really like I wanted to be in the paradise, but because I was thinking, Jehovah's gonna like give me what my heart wants and all the things, but it's taken
Yeah.
me 11 years to be able to tell the story and to say that, yeah, I had something really beautiful that was really hard to say goodbye to, but I don't feel like I'm going to see him again, like the way witnesses say you are. Like, I'm okay with it now. Like, I, I, I think you always will grieve, but not like, I don't know what would have happened if I would have stayed in, I don't know. I don't want to think about it, because there's a freedom of the heart now with being able to just say that, yeah, I had that with somebody and that was really beautiful, but that was their choice.
Yeah.
And, and I think there was so much pressure on him too. Working so much, and I don't know. I'll never know. I'll never know why he did what he did. Like, none of us will.
No, I know.
Can we talk a little bit about, do you think that the organization helped him at all? Like, you know what I mean? Or even like, there's so many people that aren't naturally Jehovah's Witnesses. You know what I mean? They maybe, they're not outgoing, and they don't want to go out. They're not the type of person to go out in service and knock on people's doors. You know what I mean? And, I knew Jared too, and he's like one of the most amazing guys I've ever known. But he just doesn't, now that I'm out, I'm like, he didn't belong in that organization. Am I wrong there?
No,
You're not wrong.
I think you're super right on that one.
Honestly, he hated service. Like, you have no idea. Like, it would, and so because we had children, it was like this constant, like, if we don't get to, if he doesn't get to the meetings, if we don't get to the meetings and get out in service, then our kids aren't going to be in the new systems. And then you have this, once you have kids, you think, oh my God, like their life depends on me getting out in service and me being a good person and me doing all the things. So,
and I know he felt that very strongly.
Yeah,
that guilt.
Guilt.
You might call it responsibility, but really it was guilt.
It was so much guilt. It was like he just felt like, if I don't go, my kids are going to die, So then I would overcompensate probably and just be like, okay, like, we're going to do all the things. But really, it didn't ever align with me either. Like, I hated service from my whole life. I hated having to be different in school. I hated it so much. Like, so much, but you just do it because, well, you want to be in the new system.
Well, and there's only one type of witness. If you're not a person that likes going in service or likes commenting or likes getting up and giving talks, well, you're not going to be a very good witness.
Yeah. And so you live your life with such crushing guilt over things that a normal person would never feel guilty for, right?
Yeah.
So now you've got great people with with good personalities, hardworking, responsible, fun people that would do just fine in life. They would have done just fine, but you get that crushing guilt wrapped around you, which turns into shame, where you're a bad person, right? You didn't just do a bad thing; you're a bad person because you don't want to do these things that you're told are the most important things. And for some reason, you don't feel like they're the most important things, but they should be, So you continue this terrible cycle that just every time you miss a meeting, you skip service, or even if you go out, but you don't want to, it doesn't matter. You still feel guilty, even if you went out.
Oh,
and
because
you
you're
didn't want
told,
to
because
go.
don't forget, you're told, like, anytime you go out in service, you always feel better after service. So, just go out in service. You're going to feel better after. So
feel better because it's over.
Right? And so you're thinking, no, actually, I just want to be home in my garden. I want to be like doing something like with my family. And so every Sunday you just have this, you want to go and enjoy your family, but nope, got to be at the meeting, you can't. So it's just like in the family arrangement, there is so much pressure, so much guilt, so much, like what they put on men and women in the organization is so, like, now that I'm out, I think back and I'm like, how did I do that? Like, how?
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. Yeah.
Right? Like, we all have little kids.
How did we do all of that stuff?
I don't know.
Dressing them all up and hauling them out the door at 7 o'clock and bringing them home at 10.
10 o'clock. You're bringing children home.
Who keeps their kids up that late?
10 o'clock. Like,
our son goes to bed at 9 now. You know what I mean? That's his bedtime. And he gets to chill out. It's like for a little while before that. I have to say something here, and this is like sympathetic to Jared. And this is to do with me and Nation. I think you can agree with this. If I think back to the time when I was doing the best in the organization, that was when actually in Grand Prairie, when I met you guys and was hanging out with you guys. But I was a ministerial servant. I was doing talks all the time. You're trying to do your family study. You got like 3 meetings a week to go to. You got service to go to. And then we had public talks to do and then you have to prepare for the meeting. And then you have to prepare because maybe you got to take the study, like you got to run the study. You're doing all of this stuff. And guess what? That's when I felt the worst. That's when I felt I was doing the least. You know what I mean? That's when I was like, when I was doing all of that stuff in my head, I was like, I'm not doing enough. That's when I felt that the most, that I wasn't doing enough when I was doing the most. Isn't that crazy? Does not make any sense.
So, Greg, were you depressed? Did you feel depressed, like, when you were doing all of that? Because I knew you then, and so I like from the outside, like, it looked like you guys were just like this, on fire family.
That's why you sang a lot of sad U2 songs.
Yeah, exactly. No, I would describe it is that I was like half a person. That's how I would describe. It's so weird for those listening. I'll tell you a story. I moved out of Grand Prairie. And then, this stuff happened with Jared. And, years later, I went back to Grand Prairie and it was so weird driving into that city because you know what? It was like a different person lived there before. It was and it was a different person. I'm not the same person. And that's how I would describe myself. I mean, I was the same person, but it doesn't feel like it. And I felt like I was just going on autopilot. I was not reflecting in any way. And I was, I also think that I was considerably less conscious. Like, I don't want to get all weird with everybody, but I actually feel like I was less conscious of things. And then when you wake up out of that programming, out of that religion, you become a different person. Yeah. And I was a different person.
Yeah, because you're kind of stuck living in that world, right? So the whole rest of the world is quite in the background for you when you're Jehovah's Witness, right? I didn't really have a desire to travel or to see the world or and I know some people do. I'm not saying Jehovah's Witnesses don't want those things. I know you guys love to travel, and I mean, I like to go to Mexico once I finally went. But the reality was, I didn't really.
Everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I didn't care about going to see the whole world, And now, like, I'm in my 40s, and I wish I would have saw the world. I wish I still had, I hope maybe I still have time to see parts of the world that I never got to. But it's funny how you just get stuck in this tiny little world. You don't really see what's going on around you because they get you so busy. Like Greg said, when you're on that hamster wheel and you're just ground into the dirt, that's when you feel super down. And it's because you aren't even you anymore. You're just a part of this group.
You're just a machine. You're like basically like you're operating just for them. Like, you're not just because you want to be thought of as good.
Yeah.
Well, on whose standard? Like, who? Like, somebody that's talking on a platform. Like who decided that these are the people that we need to model our life after?
Yeah.
And so like even school choices, like, like I have no education. I mean, I thank goodness I have a job that I can support myself with and all that, but it's like, none
it's
of the things
discouraged.
that make you like some sort of a successful person, you're not allowed to do, And so I think if I could say anything to those listening, and just to really just embrace that you can make your own choices, like to actually have some organization tell you can't go to school, you can't do sports, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't dress in a certain way because it's it's all the things that you're going to be labeled as. Like who decided that? Where is your, like, who decided that? And yet we lived our life. I raised my children thinking that this is the way, and it's like,
some guys
no,
in New York decided.
somebody in New York decided that that's what you're going to do to get into a paradise of gods. And so I hope it's, I do hope it's real to a certain degree for mankind, for the world. But I mean, like, I just don't understand how they can program that many people to do what they need to do. And that's what it is. It's a program.
Yeah, it is. And it makes me think when we were, because we've been talking a little bit about Jared and about, and our own experiences and how we felt when we were witnesses. And I know what a lot of people are going to say when they watch this, because my parents said it to me. And it's one of the reasons they're so angry with me. They said, you blamed Jehovah for Jared taking his life, right? That's what they said. And they didn't read anything I actually said, and they didn't hear me out. They never listened to me, because if they did, they'd know it's not what I did, right? I didn't blame Watchtower. I feel like there's a lot of responsibility there, like a lot, and we touched on it. But it doesn't come down to as simple as that's their fault, end of story, moving on, fuck those guys. It was never about that. I don't speak out against Watchtower. I don't come on here and talk about these things because I have nothing better to do, and I just want to be on YouTube. And the reason I think any of us do this is not only for our own mental health in processing and deconstructing all the crazy shit we had to deal with, but for me, like my biggest thing, and you talked about it when you talked about being young and young people in this organization, they get their youth taken from them. Like it is just ripped out of their hands before they even know it. And I saw it here. There was a young girl that she wanted to go to school. She was still in high school and she wanted to go to school and be a teacher. She had talked to her teachers at the school about it. She'd expressed to them that, I'm scared I'm going to lose my family if I choose to do this. Wasn't baptized yet. And so then she went and told her family that, I'm not going to be a witness anymore because I want to go to school and be a teacher. Well, what did everybody do? Oh, it was panic time. Everybody panicked.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Just don't leave. You don't have to leave Jehovah to be a teacher. You can still go to school. You can go to college. Now all of a sudden it's fine, right? College is fine. You can go to university and still be a witness. Just take some time, think about it. Just take a year off after school and pioneer and take some time to think about it.
Pioneer.
And then, and then maybe you can go, and we're going to get you, in the meantime, we're going to get you a study with this old sister who's super indoctrinated, and she's going to tell you all kinds of crazy shit. And before you know it, you're 22 years old. You feel like you're too old to go back to college. You're stuck in this weird rut of pioneering in this shithole town with zero future and no marriage prospects. And your youth is slipping out of your hands. It's slipping out of your hands so fast. And the reason I do any of this stuff is because I want my kids to have a chance. I want them to have a chance to not experience this. Because it's not like it's over. It's not like it's over if you miss that. I mean, we still have good lives, I think. Like, there's lots of good in our lives that I know for me, I'm super grateful for a lot of things in my life. And the reality is it is good, but when you're a kid, when you're young, I look at these young kids that are just in their teens or younger or whatever, and the opportunity they have before them, it's massive. And I didn't have that. I don't think any of us had that growing up, that opportunity, right? We didn't see
Well, look at even though, like, with your family, Nash, like, you know, you think about the opportunity, like Jared had to be a millwright at the mill, but nope, can't do that because, you know, you'd have to go to school.
No, yeah.
You had to go to school, yeah.
Oh, I see.
And then, you know, all the things. So nope, not going to do that. And, you know, wasn't it you that, like, and I know that there are people that are ticketed and do go to school, but it's just so not encouraged, you know, any kind of education is just really frowned upon. And even the job I have now, like, I'm a flight attendant, and I remember the first time, because I did get a job with an airline when I was after Jared passed away, and I was with the abusive man. That was like what everybody says, oh, are you going to be able to get to your meetings? Like, you can't take that job because you're not going to be able to get to your meetings. And so in your head, you're just like, well, I'm taking this job, you know, like, you know, so,
I need a job.
But it was like, because I needed an income, like I needed, you know, something. And so, but it was just like, my life was not easy at the time when I took it. Like, he made my life really hard.
You probably needed
even
some
have
time
that job
on an airplane.
Pardon me?
You probably needed some time on an airplane.
Some time away.
Get away from it all.
Yeah. And so I just remember thinking, oh, finally, you know, I have a job and all the things, but it's like, that was criticized. Like, you know, are you able to get to your meetings? Are you able to do this? Are you like, and I'm just like, I need to make a living. I need to make, you know, something. I didn't get an education. You know, this is providing me with some sort of a, like, food on my table for the kids and all the things. So whatever. Right. But even that was like just questioned and criticized.
If there's any witnesses watching right now, I tell you, it is a wonderful thing not having that guilt of missing meetings. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful.
Isn't it? Like, to have like your coffee on a Sunday and just sit there and not feel like, oh, or on a Saturday to even think like, oh, I'm allowed to just,
I don't have somewhere to be.
Somewhere to be.
You
know?
Yeah. And it's funny. Like, we talked about how, you know, like for men, you know, we think about how bad it is for them as far as discouraged from getting an education and a good career, right? But really, we don't even have it that bad, because we can go, like you said, to trade school or you know, or get a trade, and we don't even need to go to trade school in a lot of cases. And we can get pretty decent paying jobs, and we can have a good life, and, you know, probably kind of semi-retire or something someday. But for women, it is 1,000 times worse. It is way worse, because if you don't get married to somebody that's going to support you, you're screwed. Really.
And that's like the goal, right?
It is. And that's
everybody's goal, is to get married.
It's a terrible way to plan your life, right? Like, because it's like Russian roulette in Jehovah's Witnesses as far as getting married. That's my opinion on it. When you're young, because you don't really get to know the person as well as you should. Mm-hmm. You don't even know yourself yet half the time, because you're too young. And really, you've lived your whole life in a cult. So how the hell else, you know, you don't know yourself. You don't know what you even like. You've been told what you like. This is what you like. This is what you're allowed to do. And that is it. So you have no idea who you are. So how are you supposed to find someone else and be like, they're compatible with me? Well, you're just a couple people that are just sort of lost. And so if you get lucky, you happen to find somebody that's great. And there are people that do that, and good for them. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's where I have to honestly say, like, I feel like I really was like pretty fortunate, because I did have a really beautiful life. Like, we did, like, we had a really, really beautiful life. Yeah. But now looking back, it's like, I don't really know how much we really even knew each other, maybe, like, obviously, like, to, you know, because you just...
No, I think you just get lucky sometimes, right?
Yeah.
It's because you just have to kind of meet a criteria, and as long as you get along, I mean, there's attraction, of course, and then there's getting along. And I mean, if those two things are there, and you both love Jehovah, then you're set, right?
You're set to go.
Yeah,
and
good
that's
to go.
such an interesting thing that you just said too. Like, you don't even know yourself, and I feel, because you've been told, and I feel like it's only been in the last, like, since I've left, at my age, here I am trying to figure myself out, and I'm supposed to be like, it's a scary, very unsettling feeling, because it's like I look at all these other women or whatever that, and they hold themselves with so much confidence and poise, and it feels like, I feel like I'm like, this, it's almost like, I don't even know how to explain it, like, I can't even articulate what I'm trying to say, because it's like, I know myself, I know who I am, I know what I like, what I don't like, but it's like, the confidence and the strength has taken me a long time to find that, to be able to say, like, oh, this is who I am, and to even come on here to say, oh, I guess I'm not a witness anymore, like that takes a lot of courage to be able to stand up and just say, it doesn't work for me. It didn't help me heal. It didn't help me, all the things that I just kept trying to do and be on this wheel of their program. It didn't bring me the comfort. It didn't bring me the closure that I needed. It didn't bring me even overcoming addiction. Like like, it was kind of through my own strength. Actually, it was my own strength that I was like, this is not going to be my story. This is not going to be my legacy. I can do this. Like, I can do this. It wasn't, praying more. It wasn't, going out in service more. It was actually finally when I gave that guilt up, was when I finally was like, this is the life I want, Like, I deserve happiness. I deserve freedom. I deserve all those things. I don't need to be told that I'm, not good enough. I don't need to be told that a time and time again, every meeting, every chance, like,
we're just told that constantly. I don't know if you must have to be like a circuit overseer or something before you get to the point where you're like, yeah, maybe I do enough now. Or maybe even them, they're like, no, I don't do enough. I need to do this, and I need
probably
to do that.
You may be concealed.
I don't know.
Any sure things.
I hope by me being brave enough to say some of these things, I help somebody else realize, like, you are enough. You are enough. You're doing enough. Whether or not you just come across this channel and be like, oh, I kind of knew those guys. Like, what's going on here? I hope that it just makes people realize, like, nobody has the right to tell you that you're not good enough. You're not doing enough. You're not, like, you're the one that gets to decide that. Mm-hmm. Nobody else,
Yeah.
Enough to make somebody feel like that their children are going to die if they're not doing more. It's such a awful way to live.
It is.
It is.
I think we are. Thank God, but not God.
Thank God.
It made me appreciate accountability in a way I never did before. I think being a Jehovah's Witness, I felt like I was super accountable, right? Like, that's, you're accountable to Jehovah. So even if you're thinking wrong things, that you need to, like, Jehovah knows, so you're going to be held accountable. And I thought that's what accountability was. And that all that does is drive that guilt and shame cycle, that kind of accountability, this accountability to a God. I've heard the same thing preached in Alcoholics Anonymous about accountability to God, and how that's one of the biggest keys to overcoming addiction or anything like that. Honestly, and this is just my opinion, and I'm nobody, but I think accountability learned after experiencing all of this takes on a whole new meaning and a more powerful meaning, because you are first and foremost accountable to yourself. And the one thing we know for sure is we have this life. So those are the two things that should drive your life, right? Because now all of a sudden you're accountable for your family and the people around you. You're accountable for your, for everything you do in life in that sense. But if you're not accountable to yourself first, you can't be expected to do anything for anybody else. And if you know that this is the one life you got for sure, you're going to make damn sure that those decisions you make that you're accountable for don't screw your life up, and they don't screw everybody else's life up. And you realize that you're worth that amount of effort, that you don't need a God, judging your thoughts to make you decide what is good for your life. And obviously, I mean, I think that in a lot of cases gives people an excuse to act badly, because it's never your fault. You've always got imperfection to fall back on. You've always got inherited sin. You've got Satan. You've got the pressures of this wicked old system of things. There are so many excuses to act like an asshole.
Yeah.
And really, if you just take it down to the bare bones of it, it is you. It is just you. You're the one accountable. How I react is up to me. How I act is up to me. The things I say, those are up to me. And I have to answer for them. And so I think when you know that, and when you accept that, and you're willing to answer for the things you do and say, then life generally works out pretty good. It's not easy, and it's not a walk in the park, but I think that changed my whole outlook on life in general, compared to that time in my life when I thought I was accountable to the creator of the universe, who was judging how many times I looked at city TV after dark or something, like, I don't know.
No, it's true. It's like, I don't think I'll ever change my opinion on disfellowshipping. I think it's the most abusive, I haven't talked to my family and my mom, and I don't even know how the last time I talked to my mom. My son doesn't talk to me. To take the sacred bond of a family away from somebody and to use that as fear for you to come back.
Yeah.
It's like an abusive relationship, and I've been in one. And it's like there's so many similarities. Like, like you give somebody the silent treatment. Well, isn't that kind of what they say in the Watchtower, that it's wrong to give, your marriage mate the silent treatment, and yet they'll do that to them,
Why
to the
did
person that's
you make me do this after they hit you?
Yeah.
Right. That's Watchtower. Why did you make us shun you? This is you.
Yeah. The Watchtower in Supreme Court said that family relationships don't change. So that's the goal of our channel, is to find that person where their family relationships didn't change when they got disfellowshipped. Right? I think we might be looking for a long time.
It's got to be out there somewhere, because they said it in court.
They said it, so couldn't have been a lie.
Right? Because it's the truth. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it does. Totally. And there you go. Your mom, your daughter. And this is... they probably, you can't say this for sure, but it's probably true that they wouldn't do this if the organization didn't force them to. And here, look at, you even got in trouble for speaking with a disfellowship person. They're on this.
Yeah.
They enforce this rule.
Yeah. It's really enforced. And like I said, I mean, I can take like Nation. I love this, that we're talking about accountability, because it is true. Like, I mean, I was going down like a road that, for my health, like I didn't want to leave that legacy, obviously. I mean, but it was just like, I don't really understand how anybody couldn't see what I was dealing with. And then just to be able to, and now that I did go, I can be honest, I guess I'm pretty transparent. Like, I did go for help. I did all the things, that I feel I wanted to do for not only myself, but for my children. Like, I really did not want to leave that legacy of me being you know, an alcoholic.
Yeah,
I hate even that word, because to me it's like, you know, most people that are in that, they have had trauma, you know, or they've been shown, like my father was, you know, an alcoholic. And I mean, I'm not trying to look like a victim here. Like, I hope I don't sound like a victim when I'm talking, because
You're not.
well, the reality is you are a victim.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, though. That's not what you're trying to sound. It's not what you sound like. It's not like you're,
yeah,
like everybody did this to me and this is not
yeah,
my
no, because
fault.
like, I mean, in
That's
all
not what you're
honesty,
saying.
like, I wasn't no Jackie O after. Like, I wish I could have been like the classy, you know, poised widow that knew how to like keep her shit together. But, you know, like, I didn't know. I wasn't given the memo. I wasn't given the post-it note. I wasn't given, you know, all the things that you're supposed to do after somebody commits suicide. What I was given was go out in service, pray more, read your Bible, do all the things, and you're going to be fine. Well, that was my memo. That was my post-it note. I wasn't given tools in any way, shape, or form, you know, to be able to deal with what I was dealt.
Yeah.
Did I know that I needed help? Yes. Was it encouraged to go to counseling? No. That's the other thing. You know, don't go to worldly counselors. You know, go talk to a like another widow, like a widow, like an older. There's tons of sisters that have lost their husbands. You know, reach out to one of them.
Of old age.
Oh, okay, I'll do that. You know, so then it's like you're just given absolutely no tools on how to deal with grief on such a shocking level.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't even think it has to be a shocking level. I think just in general, you are given no tools on how to deal with grief in the organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The funerals are a chance to recruit new members. They rarely even talk about the person who died. Like you'll get a quick little summary, and then it's a 30-minute talk or 40-minute talk about what that person believed, even if it wasn't really, you know, like maybe they didn't even care that much. You know,
yeah,
like that's I hate that about Jehovah's Witness funerals. They're super. I went to my aunt's funeral, was the last one I went to after I was disfellowshipped, and they talked about her a little bit. They kind of told stories about how her and her sister would, I think they'd drink whiskey or something and talk on the phone. Like they were just a couple old winos. They really were. My dad's sisters were all a bunch of drunks, and that's what they were. And whatever, like they didn't hurt anybody. They were nice people. And but they sit there and they kind of tell the story, kind of like, oh boy, it's uncomfortable. And then it just trails off into this 40-minute talk, followed up with a sweet music video about paradise. And I was just like, Lisa was with me, and we almost started laughing when they played this video, because it was like an orange juice commercial, and it was just so out of place.
They played the same video, I think, at my mother's funeral.
It's I couldn't believe they did it. And when I left, it was uncomfortable. It didn't help anybody there. You know, I have yet to go to a worldly funeral, you know, which is a great thing, because I don't like going to funerals, but I know that at regular funerals, I'm going to call them, they remember the person. They tell stories about the person, and that I think
honor the person.
They honor the person, yeah. And so that's what helps a person grieve, right? I mean, that's something I miss, and I'm sure you miss too. Is getting together with family and those of us that knew Jared closest, and telling stories, because that's when you start to remember stories, right? Like I start to forget now, because I don't have anybody to bounce those stories off of. When I would get with my brothers, we'd be like, oh, remember this time. And then it all floods back and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this and remember that. Well, that's gone for us, right? We're on our own, and we're just trying to hang on to these little, you know, bits of memory that we have left. And we don't have that support, that connection to help us remember. And they don't care, because it doesn't matter. Because in the end, they sit there and they feel terrible, but they're hanging on to this crazy belief that I'm going to see him again. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that my life sucks right now. It doesn't matter that I feel like garbage. It doesn't matter I don't have my family, because in the end, the wish of every man there, it's going to be satisfied. And so he knows what I need, but apparently he doesn't know that you need your family right now. And if that's the God that's running the show, he can go fuck himself, because I don't want anything to do with him. I honestly, if he can look me in the eye after all this shit's gone on and say, you don't get to come to paradise, I don't want to be there, because this is nonsense. Yeah. It is complete nonsense. And I have no use for it.
Yeah. It's a real harsh reality, actually. And it's like, I don't want to have to, like, to me, I don't know if they actually really think about what they're preaching people, but it's like, I heard this analogy one time. I think it was actually, am I allowed to say Lloyd's name? I don't know.
Sure. Yep.
But it was like, when he said it, sure. It was like, I never thought about it before, but it's like, here, people are going to be growing, like, their watermelons and all their grapes and all the things in paradise on the manure of all the, like, me, their family members.
Yeah.
So, like, really? Like, that makes you want to be there? Like, no, thank you. I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there.
On the kindergarten down the road.
I don't want to. Like, I would rather just know that this is the only life I have, and live it free, and live it happy, live it, being a good person.
And knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of who you're told you are.
Yeah. And, there is still some, I still struggle sometimes with cognitive dissonance, though. Like, like when it comes to, like, some things, I feel like, oh, people knew, but it's mostly my son. I think that's the one that hits my heart the closest, and I'll have breakdowns all the time, because it's your child.
Yeah.
But, what do? You can't change it. And really, I was the one that gave him the program. So I can't really blame anybody but myself. But it's
I feel that.
Well, that's not your fault. I mean, you were given the program when you were a child.
Yeah.
And so we all had the programming,
just
what I mean?
Passed it on. We just passed it on.
Yeah, we just passed it on.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess the only hope is that they've got a way out, and they've got support if something ever happens. I mean, heaven forbid something happens. We hope nothing bad happens.
No.
But if anything happens that makes them doubt or question or anything, or get them in a little bit of trouble, as far as Jehovah's Witnesses go, you can smoke a cigarette and be kicked out. So I mean, it takes nothing for them to have a big wake up call in life.
Yeah.
And at least we'll be there. I'll never turn my kids away. It doesn't matter how they treat me. I don't care. I will never. Yeah. And I know that's how any normal parent that's not in a cult should feel. Like, that is, they want to talk about natural affection. That is the purest form of natural affection, is a parent and their child. I don't think there's any closer bond on earth than that. And to weaponize it, like we talked about earlier, is it's deplorable. It beggars belief that parents can do it. I can't understand how they could do it. I can't.
I can't either. No.
But I don't know if I would have had I stayed in a witness. I mean, I hope I'm a decent enough person. I wouldn't have, but I mean, I don't know. That's the scary thing. That's what worries me the most about the control that they have, is that they can get good people to do terrible things. Religion's famous for that in general, but to make parents do this to their kids time and time again is phenomenal to me.
But I think it's all under the umbrella of, showing, like, no, this is, like, it's out of love. They always say that, like, you're doing this because you love them. And I don't know about you, but I don't think you could. There's been studies shown of what it, if you ignore somebody in the room, like, what it does to their head.
Mm-hmm.
It actually it's such a form of abuse to be ignored. It's really, really a tactic they have down pat. So
I definitely would call it abuse. 100%.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah.
I had a guy on Twitter the other day comment on one of my things, and he said they do love you, and they probably pray for you every night. And And I mean, my comment was quick, and I just said, I'll never love my kids like that. Like that's no way to love, to show love. And I mean, they preach that all the time, that it's love, it's tough love. If your kid was, doing terrible things, or you knew something really bad was going to happen, you would do whatever it took. And they use that as an excuse. And it's like, this doesn't apply here, guys. For starters, you don't even know what's going to happen. You think you do. And then you told me the recipe for saving them from it. So you gave me the disaster, and then you gave me the solution. At no point did I have a single thought of my own here. And also, I have to take every natural feeling I have inside of me and just stuff it way down inside.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I think a lot of people, a lot of parents, this is just my opinion, but I think they honestly will start to, I know my parents have a ton of resentment towards me, and resentment and hatred are they're pretty close there. And, or one will lead to the other. And I think it's because there is such cognitive dissonance over the fact that they do love you. They love you dearly, and they want, but all they know is that the only way they can have a relationship with you is to have you back in their call with them. And so they hang on to these memories of you as a witness. They'll infantilize you and remember you as a kid, as a little kid, going to meetings and all these crazy things, because they can't picture you as a human being on your own, having your own thoughts, making your own choices. And so they just want Jehovah's Witness, Nashon and Greg and Dionna back. And if those people come back, then it'll be good. But the more you finally show that you just don't agree with it. This isn't just some excuse to be a big bad sinner that we all want to go and sin away. Like this is for good reason that we left. The more they start to resent you. One of the last texts I got from my mom, she called me a pompous ass for saying anything. And it's funny that they look at it that way, because I mean, I don't know how the pompous viewpoint is to be like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a God. I don't know if there's a hope after death. I don't know any of it. Sure, I hope there is, I guess, but I don't know. I got no evidence to prove that it is, or any real reason to believe it. But that's cool if it is. But here you are. You have all the answers.
Yeah.
You know exactly what's going to happen to me.
Yeah, it's gaslighting terrible. Is what it is, because they can't speak to you on the level of defending their belief. What they do is attack you personally, or your mental state, or your qualities. You're pompous, or you just have a vendetta against the organization, or you were always kind of weird or kind of off. I am sure my family would say things like that about me. And what it does when people say that, it does kind of make you think, well, you know what, am I, like you can kind of go along with it, and you can start thinking, well, maybe, and the truth of the matter is we're all imperfect people. We all, so that's why gaslighting can be so effective, because you can kind of start to see maybe they're right in some way, but no, they're not. It's a terrible, terrible practice, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. End of story.
Yeah. It is. But here we are, getting through this, and
yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, we've talked a lot about all the terrible things, so we don't want everybody to go away feeling super depressed.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe tell us some good things that are happening, or tell us about your daughter.
Yeah. Well, Ava left with me. She was quite in for a while, but then it was one meeting actually where it was like they gave the example in the Watchtower, about how somebody was going to go kill themselves, and then the witnesses knocked on the door, and I remember, like, she just literally got up and was so mad. And I was already disfellowshipped at this time, and she was just like, why couldn't have my dad been saved? Like,
that
really?
Must have been so tough to hear.
Like, really? So that person that's, this, I hate using the word worldly, whatever, they were worth saving, but Jared wasn't. Like, the angels couldn't have intervened, and it was just like, for her, it was like this switch went off, and she just was angry. And I shouldn't speak for her. I mean, I'm sure she would, but I just remember trying to have this conversation with her. Like, yeah, it's pretty, harsh to think that, one of the most amazing people that all of us have ever known, like Jared was almost like a Jesus. Like, the guy
It's
was
your own
like,
personal Jesus.
yeah, he was
Like the
just,
song,
yeah, like he was just a good person, funny, generous, all the things. And I don't think I could, he worked too much. Like, I guess that was his,
He was too hard of a worker. Hey,
he was
that's the
too
worst
hard of a
thing you can
worker.
say.
Worst thing we can say about him.
But I mean, like, as a human and as a person, he would, would have given the shirt off. Like, he was just that good of a person,
Yeah.
And so for him to not be like, and that was the other thing that actually woke me up too, was like, God, Jehovah won't make you be like, is it tempted beyond what you can bear, or handle what you,
that's
what is the
a big
scripture?
one.
I don't even remember it anymore.
I was going to say that. Yeah, he won't let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, because he always makes the way out. What's the trial? He makes the way out. That scripture, just like, I grappled with that all the time.
Oh, and I was just so like, are you serious? Like, this is more than I can handle. Like, my faith is shaken, like everything. And I was just like, I'd be reciting scriptures in my head after, and it would just, I couldn't wrap my head around why him.
I asked an elder about that one, because I couldn't, because it just didn't make sense to me. And I was just like, if this is true, then you're saying that he didn't have enough faith. So where does that put him? Now he's gone.
Yeah.
And they just give you the same old, like, well, we don't know, we know we love Jehovah in the end, and on and on. And so we will probably see him again, because it's just the old carrot on the string, just hang in there, and it'll be good. I know none of this makes sense and it's crazy, but just hang in there. And that's not good. It's not good enough. I mean, it was good enough at the time. It wasn't good enough, but you take it and you carry on. But it never went away, right? Like that. I'm glad you brought that up, because for me, like, that scripture was, I never could understand it.
And that was the other wake up thing for me too. Cause I was just like, I had already kind of thought that I had been through my trials a little bit ish through childhood and all the things. And I felt like, oh, but at least I have really beautiful, I don't know. Like, I just felt like, oh, this was kind of the one thing that I had. And that was taken away from me. I was just like, are you serious, God? Like, really?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks. That's great.
So that set Ava, Ava off a little bit.
Like, moving on. I just, I've been through, I'm in a good place now. I feel like I'm in a really good place, and I'm finally accepted, like, there is life after grieving. You can, and I think with suicide, you will never know the answer. There was just so many different things after that woke me up, slowly, just throughout it. But I think for me, it was just not being able to put closure on him. Yeah, but just like not being able to put closure on the actual grieving part of the loss of him. And, and then trying to find that within an abusive marriage. And then just, so I really did some soul searching in the last few years, and have finally come to a place where I'm okay to say that I'm no longer known as a Jehovah's Witness, I guess.
Well, I'm super glad that you're there, and I'm proud of you, and I think we both are. And and I know Ava is, and she, I love getting pictures from her and seeing that she's got a chance at a real life. And it's, I know I see a lot of both of you guys in her, and I think there's still good. There was a lot of bad, but there's still some really great things I think we all have left.
There is, yeah. And I'm dating a really amazing man, and I'm pretty happy, actually. Just being able to say that I'm allowed to get to know somebody slowly and just not feel like I have to, feel guilty for wanting companionship. and having fun with that. It's such a it's such a that's actually probably been the most freeing thing, to not feel guilt to date and to get to know somebody, because that was pretty hard. That was really hard to try to move on with that loop in your head of, no, you're gonna see him, and but and then in my head I was thinking, how am I gonna handle it if I did remarry? Like, okay, so I did remarry, and then it was like, oh, but then what if I do remember and then I see him with somebody else? Like, that's like, I was like, oh my goodness, like, you know what I mean? So
that is a mind fuck.
It is. This is not okay. Too much,
right? So then in my head I'm thinking, well, this is just like, and then I would just bawl myself to sleep at night thinking, like, that's not cool. So then here I am with douche canoe guy, like, and he's off with his new wife, and I'm just like, but you know what I mean? Like, it was just such a mind, like, I just can't even wrap my head around it.
And meanwhile they're getting after you because you're grieving too much.
Yeah.
Like, that's a thing in Watchtower. You can't grieve too much.
You can't grieve too much.
No, it's not looked fondly on. And I mean, it's just ridiculous, because there is no support, and they just throw you to the wolves, and then they throw all this crazy stuff into your head to make it a million times worse, and expect you to just be like, oh, well, it'll be fine. Don't worry. Paradise fixes everything.
Yeah. It's just going to fix everything, and, it was interesting because I really did put in a really good ditch effort to get reinstated. And I did.
Thank God it didn't work.
I did all.
I'm pretty glad it didn't work out.
And that was probably like, that was like Ava. I don't really want to share too much, but like,
I'm gonna drag her on here one day.
Yeah, actually, I think she probably, I think she would have a lot of insight on her end as like a young person for what she went through. But she was going through a really hard time, and it was just, I was back and forth to Edmonton and then working, and I wasn't getting to as many meetings as I would have or should have. And that was what they said to me, like, Dionna, like, we would like to see you at more meetings, so we're not going to approve like your letter. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, here I am, single mom, trying to help my daughter through some health issues, and like, you're gonna put, like, you're still not doing enough. And I was just like, hysterically crying, because I just wanted to see my family again. I wanted to be with my son, and I wanted to be with my family, because I needed support. I wanted my people. Right.
But you can't let on either, right? Like, that's the crazy thing. You can't.
No, you can't.
I mean, they use it as a weapon. They dangle your family in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have these people until you come back. But don't you dare let on, when you're trying to get reinstated, that you want to come back for your family. You better be coming back because you feel terrible and you want Jehovah back in your life.
And it's only God's organization. This is, you have to make sure that that it's only God's organization. And in my head, I'm thinking, I think you're a bunch of clowns. But anyway,
but I still want my family.
My best here, put on a really good show. And and that's what I said to the elder. I said, I am doing my absolute best that I can do. This will be the last time I ever step foot in a Kingdom Hall again. Like, ever.
Good for
ever.
You.
Yeah. And I literally, that was it for me. When they wanted more, after, like, literally my daughter was going through some serious health things. I was back and forth to Edmonton. We lived in Calgary, and plus, like, I was working, and they just wanted more from me. And I was like, I've recovered. I don't drink, like, all the things that, you seem to think that I'm doing. Yeah. And it was just like, I don't know. It was just like, so then that's what I said. I'm like, I can't do more. And that was when I was like, now I know what it feels like to just have that feeling of like, you just will never be enough. You'll never be good enough, no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do. If you don't have a name behind you to have somebody like, you know, get you back in or do all the things, you're like, I was just a nobody to them, you know, and they looked at me like I was like this adulterous woman. I don't even know. Like, it was just, I can't even explain the chain of events. Like that would be like a whole other episode. You name it. Like, you know,
a lot
that's
of the
why it's
people
like,
that we interview say, yeah, I could do like 5 episodes here.
Yeah.
Especially surrounding issues with judicial meetings. You know?
Oh, yeah. It was
a lot of craziness there.
A lot of crazy, but we've all, and you know, like I said, like, I honestly look back of my life as of being a witness, and I don't have any like hard feelings. Like, I know I sit here and be like, go on and on and on, but it's like, it did provide like a good, I don't know though. Like, I think like a moral compass, I guess. I don't know. But then I look at other people that weren't raised as witnesses, and they're really good people. They make it out like, you know, like if you're not, you know, oh, but it gave you good morals and this, that, and the other. I'm like, I know a lot of people that are really good people that are, you know, weren't raised in the truth. And, you know, so they, you know, and I don't know. I'm living a pretty good, clean life. I'd like to say, you know, I'm not
a bunch of guilt attached to it either.
Yeah, I think, and I also think that I'm not as judgmental. Like, I think that, you know, so many times, like, you'd look at people and you were just so judged, just everything, you know. I don't know. Maybe take that out when you do this part. I don't know.
I if you want me to, I will, but I would like to leave it in because the judgmental part of that organization is, it is. And unfortunately, sometimes, I don't know if you ever, but maybe sometimes you were the person, or I was the person doing the judging.
Yeah. I feel that for sure.
Yeah. So you feel guilty about that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I was a way more judgmental. Even sometimes I think I was probably arrogant in some ways, because you get this.
You were arrogant.
Yeah, you get this.
I was too.
Got a chip on my shoulder, right? I got Jehovah on my side, and I was
an idiot.
I'm a little bit better than everybody. That's the reality. That's how you're made to feel. And now looking back, it's like, man, I was an asshole, and I could have been so much better, right? I could have been so much better. So that judgmentalism goes both ways, right? When you're in there, that's because you live in such a small little community, it's you know everybody's business, and so you make it your business when you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And they still do it.
And this is tattling, like it's just, people won't understand it. Like, you know, I think maybe people got a little hint of it during COVID, like if people had their neighbor in or whatever, maybe they were tattled on, but like, you know, it's just like, you couldn't even, you're watched, you know, 24/7.
Well, I think it made some people feel important if they had some information to tell an elder. Listen, Brother Johnson, I have something I got something to tell you. You know, maybe we should step into the back room here. I got something to tell you about Dionna. I hate to do this, but honestly, it makes me feel like a big man to tell you this. But
I've heard some things.
We're
wondering if you know about these things.
Yeah, because I know.
Yeah.
And by the way, can I get appointed next go around? Because I'm such a good witness.
I really care.
And it's so true. You know, you just you live your life always looking over your shoulder, and it was just like, you know. And so now I feel like when I go to do something, I still feel like, oh,
and you got in trouble for what other people did. Remember the time we had a party at your house and somebody got blind fucking drunk?
I remember that.
And then
I remember who it was too.
Yeah, me too. And then Jared and Dionna got hauled in front of the elders over
we
it.
got hauled in front of the elders because we had a wild party.
Because they had a wild party at their house because the one guy, the one friend of ours, couldn't handle his liquor and never could. Yeah. He got just blind drunk, and guess who? And then in a normal situation, you know, that would be the end of it. That would have been the end of it. They would have went home. He might have felt embarrassed. His wife would have had to deal with him, and we
Right.
all would have been like,
Kinda laughed
whatever.
about it,
That was funny. We might laugh about it another time. End of story.
Nope.
No, instead, you wake up the next day like, oh my God, I don't know.
Yeah.
You got pretty drunk. I hope the elders don't find out. I don't know if they do. And now
then they come up to you in the meeting and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. How crazy is that? That's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
And this is the thing, like and that's even like, for the first time that our family, Nation, after, of course, you were out, but like we all finally got together because we didn't grieve like a normal family at all after Jared passed away. It was such a weird chain of events, but it's like, so we finally got together, I think after, I guess it would have been like 7 years. And there was like and I, of course, I was like going to be like happy and party. And I don't know, everybody kind of had like a few, but of course, because it was me that had a few, I was the one that was told on. So the elders found out right away.
Oh my
goodness. But meanwhile, the whole family had a few too much. I shouldn't say everybody, but there was quite a few there that had too much to drink. But I was the one hauled into the elders meeting because somebody told on me. And told on all the time.
I've been to rated R movies with an elder before. I won't say who it is, but like that elder was like so stressed. Well, actually, no, sorry. It wasn't a rated R movie. No, it was Star Wars. It was Star Wars.
Oh my God.
And he was so stressed.
I'm stressed about people seeing me in Star Wars.
He went to this movie because in the movie it was the one with Darth Maul, and he kind of looks like Satan, I guess. So he's like, yeah, you know what? That was Satan for sure. Darth Maul, that was that was Satan. That was the character of Satan. So he was like so nervous that somebody was going to see him there. He was going to get in trouble for going to see Star Wars.
God, the first time I got disfellowshipped was because one person got in trouble for something completely different. And then she thought if she ratted on everybody else about something, she'd get off easy.
She made a deal with the DA.
She tried. We all got disfellowshipped. Everybody got disfellowshipped. So it totally backfired on her. But it was just like this huge chain of events of telling on everybody because I want to save my ass. And and everybody had gotten drunk. And so everybody got disfellowshipped.
Yeah.
That must have been quite the night at the Kingdom Hall. How many were announced?
Just reading off the names.
Yeah.
They were just lighting matches, it's like, blowing them out.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't even explain it to people that haven't been raised because they just don't like. I don't even get on the subject really because I can't really explain how
they don't get it.
No. They don't get it.
No,
like they don't get it. Like you just and so that's okay, and that's why I think coming on as a community like this is so like this has been really healing for me. So thank you for.
It's been enjoyable for me too.
Yeah,
it's and I know it's going to help to you guys.
It's going to help people for sure.
Yeah,
like I know your stories. Like I know it's not easy to tell. I know it's hard to come on here, and we feel pretty vulnerable when we stick ourselves out here on camera. Doesn't matter how many times we do it. I think we all do. And so for you to come on the one time, I know the nerves from the first time. It's a lot, and but it is healing. Like I know that it helped me. I know other people's stories have helped me, and they've had to disclose some seriously personal things. I didn't have to disclose them, but they did disclose them. And I know that that took a lot for them, but in the end it helped me. And I'm sure it helped a ton of other people. And I know your story will have the same effect on people.
Yeah. I think it's going to be powerful.
Yeah. And that was my whole motive, was to come on, not to, put anybody down, because I think at the end of the day, and I hope I didn't come across that way, and I hope I don't look like a victim or trying to look like a pity party or any of those things. Mostly it's just about empowerment and to just be like, no, you can heal after crazy tragedy, and just to put one foot in front of the other and just find your tribe. That's the main thing. And not be scared to speak your voice anymore. I think that's the biggest thing. Not be scared, because so many people feel gagged right now. they're scared. And I think once they take your voice away from you, well, then they've taken your spirit, they've taken you away, they've taken your essence of who you are, because we've been given this gift of voice and thought. And yet that as a witness, was just so taken away. Like, you're not allowed to have any kind of an opinion, any kind of a thought, any kind of to not even to be able to question where they get their information from or why, because you're not allowed to look outside of the source of Watchtower, right? So and then you're get labeled as a scary label as being the apostate. Well, nobody wants that label. I'd rather have the A letter of an adulteress on my forehead than an apostate, because at least that can be forgiven. But once you're labeled as an apostate, well, then you are fucked. And so
for sure.
that, to me, I would never think of myself as an apostate. No, I'm not. It's not like I think I'm not going around talking, I just don't agree with a lot of their tactics on how they keep people in, or how, whatever. I don't even know. I'm
Well, a lot of it is, the way they define apostate is is why we hate it so much. Because an apostate, when you're a Jehovah's Witness and in other religions too, you're mentally diseased, you're wicked, you're under the influence of Satan. It has so many terrible connotations attached to it that it's no wonder the Jehovah's Witnesses are scared of them, and we hate the term so much. But I mean, a lot of people find some power back in that. They look at the definition of runaway slave. Really, that's what we are, right? We were slaves to Watchtower, and we got out. So we survived it, and and they warn us against the dangers of independent thinking. That's the thing. That is a danger. The dangers of independent thinking. Just saying that it is a ridiculous statement. There's no danger in independent thinking. Independent thinking is what gets us through life. Successful people are independent thinkers. They're they're risk takers. They're people that set out on these grand that try things for the first time. And that's where independent thinking gets you. To think of that as something dangerous, it just goes to show how culty and controlling and manipulative this organization is.
And isn't that crazy? Even as a parent, isn't that what we do? Is that you want your child to become an independent, critical thinker, to think for themselves, to do all the things, to become successful adults, and to be successful, citizens of their community. And yet that is so it's not allowed. It's that's the worst thing you could ever do, right?
Yeah. Unforgivable. Yeah.
So, but I have to get going here. I have to wrap up here. I've still got a little bit of work left to do.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah,
you mentioned that you look at your other ladies that you work with. I don't know if you're talking about ladies or men or whatever, and they seem so confident, and they didn't grow up in the truth. But when I see you, I see somebody that's confident, and you know what you have? You got a lot of wisdom, of wisdom from your experience. That and I'm sure you've only told us a small part of what you've been through, but what I see is wisdom.
Yeah, and it was hard earned.
You guys are gonna make me cry. Well, thank you. I have to remind myself that my voice matters, and I have to remind myself that my opinion matters, because it was just really stomped out of me for a long time. And so now I think to be able to come on and to be on this platform, thank you for having me, because it really was really healing to just talk about Jared and to honor him. It's coming up, on the 2nd, the passing of his choice, and to recognize that what he maybe some of the pressures that he felt as a man in the organization, and as myself as a parent. I think so much of that's like a whole other topic you could almost get on to, with parents and like the struggle of trying to carry that guilt and to do it all and it still not be enough, you know? So whether or not that was part of his choice, whether or not it was something in his, you know, all the things we'll never know. But at the same time, I think that just to be able to come on and say, hey, this person was a really amazing human and we had a really beautiful life, a really beautiful marriage. It was the biggest shock of my life, all of our lives, and it changed the course of so many different people. Like, you know, you talk about a butterfly effect. That was like a pterodactyl. I don't even know. Like
it's a lot of wreckage
that made in so many people's lives just literally was like, it's like I can't even explain it. And Nash knows, you know, of course, because that was his brother, and so he just knows the effect of what it had on the community, on his own family, on you know, on his own children, on everything. So just know, I think anybody that's feeling not enough, you are enough and you matter and you're doing the best you can. So just hold on, because it's right around the corner.
I like that. But for
you know?
but no, that's good. But for I mean that is I think the most, maybe not the most, I think that's the most important thing we can take away from this. Because there are people out there battling right now and struggling with those same feelings, and they feel like they are worthless, they are unloved, they aren't worthy of love, and you're worthy of love, and you are loved. Someone loves you, and you may not think it, and you may hate yourself, but it can always get better. As long as there's tomorrow, it can get better. And so I just beg you to get help. Just talk to somebody. Tell somebody how you're feeling. Don't hold that inside, whatever you do, because it will lead you down a terrible road. And in Jared's case, it led to the end of his road, and we miss him dearly, and we do anything to get that back.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we'll never know, but at least we were lucky enough to have him in our life for as long as we did, and for that I'm grateful always.
Yeah.
For the love.
Me too.
Yeah. So thank you, fellas.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you immensely. Okay. This was wonderful. This was a wonderful experience.
Oh, well, thank you. It was really healing. I really needed this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, where have you been, my blue-eyed son? Oh, where have you been, my darling young one? Well, I stumbled on the side of 12 misty mountains, and I walked and I crawled on 6 crooked highways, and I stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests, and I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans, and I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard, and it's hard, and it's hard, and it's hard, and it's hard, and it's a hard rain, it's gonna fall. Oh, what did you see, my blue-eyed son? And what did you see, my darling young one? I saw a newborn baby with wild wolves all around it. I saw saw highway diamonds with nobody on it. And I saw a black branch with blood that kept dripping. I saw a room full of men with the hammers bleeding. And I saw a white ladder all covered with water. I saw 10,000 talkers whose tongues were all broken. And I saw guns and sharp swords in the hands of young children. And it's hard, and it's hard, and it's hard, and it's hard. It's a hard rain. It's gonna fall.
Just checking on your new mud board. Pretty nice. It's pretty sexy.